Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're live, live, live. I'm going to talk about the musical score of Justice League. We're going to try to keep this very, very brief. Um, First of all, I want to thank Joss Whedon and Danny Elfman for their contributions to this movie. I think it makes this movie very, very special. Now, a couple things concerning the musical score. Uh, the musical score harkens back to the very beginning. The very first superhero film, which was done by uh, I was just actually listening to it and watching it. Um, it'll come to me. I don't know why. Again. Richard Donner. There you go. Richard Donner's take on Superman. It was the very first superhero film to be on the big screen, and it was in tribute to that Danny Elfman not only used the original Superman score, but he also did his version of the orchestral pieces of the ending of Justice League to somewhat of the feel of a Richard Donner orchestral piece. So it wasn't just the thematic music of Superman that he used, but he also gave the feeling of it at the end of the movie, particularly. Sort of bringing full circle. Now, this movie is all about Superman. Superman's at the heart of this movie, so it's kind of fitting that he would use Richard Donner's motifs coming down to the end of the movie. Now, this movie actually, this whole DCEU started off of Superman, and it started off with Hans Zimmer's epic themes. But I must say, Zack Snyder did borrow a lot from Richard Donner's Superman. On looking at Richard Donner's Superman once again, I just actually went through it. I realized that there's certain scenes which are totally in tribute to Richard Donner, completely. Zack giving complete allegiance to Richard Donner. We'll deal with that in Easter eggs, but let me just give you an example of one of such themes. When Clark was in the field in Richard Donner's Superman, he was contemplating that he had to leave his mother, who he knew for a very long time, Martha Kent. Father had just passed away as well, because he had found this key that was to go to uh, the place of solitude. I forgot what it's called, the Fortress of Solitude, right? Um, he was in the fields. I saw where he really, really felt for his mother, and he hugged her so tightly. And actually, in Justice League, Superman, when he comes back from the dead, his mother comes out of the car, and it's exactly the same kind of hug and embrace. In this case, Superman's coming back to his mother, where in the Richard Donner cut, he was leaving his mother. Now, this is very important to understand that in the spirit of that, uh, Danny Elfman actually gives tribute to Richard Donner. Now, this might have been a slightly different take, true, but everything comes full circle in terms of Danny Elfman interpreting the score. I'm sure Junkie XL would have done an excellent job on the score, but there's just so much more meaning and depth to this. This carries us back to this, harkens back to the shadows of the past. I don't know if people understand that. And there's something special about that. I was looking at the Richard Donner movie, and there are certain things that really did make me laugh, genuinely laugh, because of the characters in the movie. Lex Luthor was this brilliant mind, absolutely brilliant mind. He uses brilliant mind for absolute evil, but he's surrounded by dimwits, like the dumbest people in the world. And that contrast was really funny. Um, I didn't dig Richard Donner's Superman. I was just looking at it, but I don't really dig Richard Donner's Superman like other people do, because the world's so, to me, not realistic. But nonetheless, there are things in there that just wonderful. I mean, I can understand. I went back to my childhood memories of first seeing this movie where Superman was flying, and also what captivated me also was the mystery in how he would do all these good acts. Superman did all these things, and it wasn't a violent film per se. There wasn't a lot of punching and killing and stuff like that. It was about saving lives. The emphasis was on hope. So I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful thing. In fact, the first act that Superman does is save Lois Lane, and then he saves the people in the chopper in that movie. So anyway, Danny Elfman, harking back to Richard Donner, it sort of carries us back to the heart of superhero movies. What started them off? What made superhero movies what they are today? And I thought there was something pure about it in the end, even when Lewis Lane is narrating about hope and how hope reminds us and brings us back to things old and yet presents something new. And I thought that's basically symbolizing what Danny Elfman's doing on this movie. He was recapping old things, the Batman themes, the Superman themes, and yet he's mixing with things that are new. He mixed in the theme of Junkie XL, Hans Zimmer, the soundtracks of Come Together by Gary Clark Jr., and Sigrid with Everybody Knows, and Icky Thump by White Stripes. You know, new things and old things put together. I thought it was beautiful, that combination, you know, with the suspenseful themes from The Matrix, and from he even borrowed a little bit from Junkie XL. And what I'm saying to you guys is that that's something special, that even the music, even the character, the fabric of this movie is special in that regard. I don't know if they'll keep this movie as a collector's edition or what they will do with it, but I do believe Warner Brothers has something special that's going to stand the test of time. This movie symbolizes a lot, and so I just wanted to spend a little time on the Hangout with you guys talking about the musical score. So when this movie opens, it opens without music, actually, which is very interesting. The music opens without any music whatsoever. It opens to Superman. He's being interviewed by children. And that cut, that take where Superman's interviewed by children, actually comes from a comic book. The music begins after that with a dark theme, a very dark theme, very theatrical, dark theme. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of like Batman. It's kind of Danny Elfman-ish, Tim Burton-ish, creepy, dark, but yet theatrical at the same time. Like a horror film, theatrics. And we see the world of Batman. We don't see Batman. We just see a top view. It reminds us of BVS, but except it's darker. It reminds us of the opening scene with young Bruce going with his two parents. It's a top shot again, but this time it's in the land of Gotham, and then we pan upwards towards the newspaper that says Superman's dead. So it's very gothic. It's very dark. It's very, in every sense of the word, it's dark. And the criminal's coming out of a house, and you hear Danny Elfman's theatrics. You hear the bells. You hear the ding, 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 the typical Danny Elfman theatrics that makes a movie so suspenseful and interesting at the same time. The musical score doesn't overshadow what's happening. And Danny Elfman's very good at doing that. And of course, it's overshadowed with the Batman theme. He's using the Batman theme, but it's popping up and disappearing all the time. And one of the most fantastic moves in that shot piece is when Batman is sitting there. He's in the darkness, sitting and waiting on this criminal. He's waiting for him. The criminal to him is bait. And he captures the criminal, and he uses him for his purpose to bait a parademon so he can see it and deal with it hands-on. And you see the beautiful artistry of Zack Snyder's imagery with Danny Elfman's spellbinding music. And it grips you for a minute. And you're there entranced and entwined while Batman is making his moves and the criminal is trying to shoot the daylights out of him. And this big, thudding, powerful Batman looks like he's a brawler. He's moving like a cat. He's old. He's wary. But he's still got that agility and strength to be able to get out of the way of this criminal who's shooting shot after shot, not hesitating. And when the criminal least expects it, Batman comes out of his hiding as the criminal makes a dash for it, flips over and knocks him down, catches him around the neck, ties him up, and then pulls him taut as he's just hanging over an edge, tied up. And the criminal says to him, "What do you want from me?" And Batman says, "Fear, man." When you talk about score writing, you have to understand it's about the drama. It's about the dramatics. It's not about people listening to your music and getting entranced in your music. It's about capturing the moment. And Danny Elfman did it like no other can do. And it was beautiful watching Batman capture the parademon, go up in the air. It's just beautiful stuff. By the way, this is just a side note. I just saw all the deleted footage for Batman v Superman that's circulating on Facebook right now. Fantastic stuff. Am I sad that it wasn't in the film? Absolutely. But I will tell you this, I'm still glad I saw the film. I'm glad we had a Justice League this year. I was not going to wait till next year to see that stuff. And I'm so happy. I'm sure we're going to have a ball when we get the DVD version of this with the deleted scenes, and or if they want to do an extended cut, whatever they want to do with the DVD. I'm hoping we get a DVD release that's worthy of it. You know, Warner Bros. Doesn't want to shell out any extra money, I'm pretty sure, on this movie. So we have to see what happens. But the spellbinding, captivating nature of writing a soundtrack is what makes a difference. And I was listening to the weaving of his spell that Danny Elfman does to rope you in. And then off of that, Joss Whedon puts in Sigrid's Everybody Knows, which is, again, another heavy, solemn moment. So first we get the stakes in the beginning of the movie. And Danny Elfman does a good job of giving you that feeling of the stakes. I don't have much time. And so after that, we get the feeling of now the aftermath of Superman's death. So first we see Superman when he was alive and full of hope and how he was explaining what hope is. Then we find out he's dead, and we find out that Batman is trying to figure out what's going on and how this threat is going to be handled. And then we go to the aftermath in the world, how the world feels about Superman dying. And it's interesting, the criminal, though he's captured and he's hopping around, it's kind of funny, actually. He's hopping around. We see that the criminal himself begins to realize the seriousness of the situation. He says, they're not from here, are they? They're aliens. Superman's dead. Now what will we do? And Batman doesn't answer him. He just takes off and drops with that swooping cape and that grandeur and that, oh my God, Zack Snyder, beautiful take on things. And I think to myself, I was caught up in that moment deeply. And then Sigrid's Everybody Knows just breaks your heart. I mean, you feel for your present situation, your losses. You feel for the world around you because you know this is true. This, even though they're talking about Superman dying, they're really talking about hope dying. And this is what's happening in the world today. People are getting frustrated. The economies are not great in the world. And then people are looking for hope everywhere. But really, hope comes from within you. You know, if I would have just hit my chest here so you guys could see, you guys are the hope. There's no one particular person. You guys make a difference. I know you guys are making a difference with this movie right now. And I just want to say, again, going off target for a little bit, you guys go out and see this movie. Make sure you get your families, your friends, everybody to go see this movie this weekend. We're going to have a blast. I'm telling you, we're going to have a blast. I don't have the money right now. Sunday, I'm going to have the money to do this. I have to pay off some bills, pay off some debts. I got some family to take care of. So, but I will be going to see it Sunday. God's willing, you know, if everything works out right. And I'm going to carry some people with me, and we're going to have a good old time. I can't eat popcorn and stuff. They'll have to, if they want to eat snacks and stuff, they can do that. I can't. I have to eat at a certain time and stuff. But I'm hoping so. I see we have 4 viewers now. Okay, that's good. What I'll do, because this is very, very late in the night, but I just wanted to share with you guys about the musical soundtrack, and then I'll take some of your questions, okay? Let me get into the rest of it. So Danny Elfman then picks back up after Sigrid's song, Everybody Knows, which if you don't shed a tear or you don't feel something with that song, I don't know what to tell you. And it's a beautiful song that's really speaking about a lot of things, politics, relationships. It's a song like that. And Everybody Knows goes to the heart of the situation. I want to just talk to you guys about one more thing before I get on, right? So the musical score of Danny Elfman, if you go and break it down, because I've been thinking about this, I've been listening, I'm watching the film. I watch the film at home sometimes, the pirated copy that I have. And you guys must be like, man, dude, you have a pirated copy? You nuts? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm desperate to see this movie all the time. So I've been watching it, and I'm watching at different elements. And basically, Danny Elfman picks back up with a different tone this time. It's a very solemn tone. You hear the string work. And this is borrowing from Junkie XL's string work and what Junkie XL generally does. Danny seemed to have almost channeled Junkie XL for a minute. And then he goes back into his theatrics. So with the Criminals, I didn't really particularly like how he did the criminal part of it. That kind of offbeat theatrics. I mean, that's probably just me. I mean, it's unique, it's different, it's very theatrical, but I thought it needed something a little bit more serious in tone than so theatrical. But when it reached the Criminals end, he kind of did a mischievous kind of sound, which sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't work. In this case, for me, I wanted something a little bit more serious, but it still held together when Wonder Woman came on the scene and he changed up the music again, and he brought in something that wasn't as theatrical, which I liked. I like what he did in the end, up to when Wonder Woman blasted him with her hands, the power through her hands. And from there, we moved to Batman looking for Aquaman. And we get that Junkie XL feel. I don't know. Danny Elfman kept on jumping to different vibes. When he was in Europe, there was a different vibe. When he went across to Iceland, there was a different vibe. And it's crazy because you're thinking, this is the same composer doing something different. He was doing different things. And I felt like this was Junkie's take on, he borrowed off of Junkie almost. And it was a totally different feel as Batman's going across. In fact, some of the stuff you heard in the trailers with Junkie, I think he actually took it and used it. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. And then from Aquaman, he moved into, they were on the plane. Alfred was talking to him. There wasn't much music until you get to the Flash, and Flash is talking to his father, and then you get the serious tone again when the father's talking to him about, you're wasting your time, son. You're just beating time. I'm not going anywhere, you know. That again, very serious, heavy vibe. There was not much comedy for the first 30, 40 minutes of this movie. We had little sprinkles of comedy where the Flash, you know, he uses speed to paint up the guy's face. You know what I'm saying? But there's not much comedy for the first 30, 40 minutes of this movie at all. And it's a heavy, 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 heavy tone. I don't know if you guys realize it, but Danny Elfman actually, with his theatrics, kind of takes off some of the heaviness of the tone. And the tension sometimes needs to be relieved. And Danny Elfman would do that very craftily with his music. But he goes back to Junkie XL. He actually used Junkie XL a couple times in here. Junkie stuff is in there. He doesn't get the credit, but he should get the credit because Danny was channeling Junkie. And basically, after the Flash scene, which was again very solemn and heavy, we go into another solemn and heavy scene, which is Cyborg. So it's like a triple whammy. And Cyborg, there's no humor whatsoever. It's just totally heavy. And if you listen to the spectacular nature, how Danny builds up to when Cyborg comes off the ground and uses his boosters, it's amazing how he does that. And it does it in almost the frame set of a Junkie XL, kind of a Hans Zimmer kind of feel, percussive, and it's powerful. And so I loved what Danny was doing there because he was borrowing from them. I hope that Junkie gets some kind of credit for this because I do believe Danny Elfman rode heavily off of Junkie XL in the middle parts of the film. Anywhere we felt the really serious tension, it was more Junkie stuff that you were actually hearing. I don't know if Junkie's getting credit for this. I didn't really look through the credits to see if Junkie's name is somewhere in there. He should be in there because he borrowed from Junkie XL. I'm telling you right now, he borrowed straight off of Junkie XL stuff. And he then went on to, of course, use Wonder Woman's theme in the sequence of events with the terrorists. And so we had Batman's theme, we heard Wonder Woman's theme in there. And then from the Cyborg part of the movie, he moves on to, we see Wonder Woman meeting Batman. Well, first it's the Amazons. And that was, again, a very tense situation. I'm telling you, this movie was serious, man. Another tense situation. And this time, again, he borrows heavily from what we saw in the trailers. The suspense, it's not theatrical. It's very straightforward, suspense, gripping, seizing, knot in your chest, feeling that pump, that pulsating rhythm, and you can feel Steppenwolf coming after them, and it's intense. Okay, very intense music. And then after the Steppenwolf, we go to Wonder Woman, who's in the Louvre, and she's doing a restoration of another god, and she sees the television. We get a little bit of some sprinkles of comedy in between with Lois Lane and I believe Ma Kent. We had some sprinkles of comedy. This was in between with the cyborg thing when the guy got kidnapped, and I was glad to know that he was still alive, at the end of the movie, because he got kidnapped. I didn't know he got kidnapped. Anyway, so after that, we see sprinkles of we talked about Cyborg, we talked about Wonder Woman. Yes. After that, Wonder Woman comes and meets Batman. I think that's what's next. She comes and sees Batman. The music is it's not any particular form of music. It's kind of generic at this point, but it's just there to set the tone, to give you the feel. Like the moment when Wonder Woman says, "Not coming, Bruce," here you get that raise in music, and then it just kind of disappears. And then he's got this background kind of. It's not theatrical, but it's kind of theatrical. You hear some kind of bells and cymbals and percussion as she's talking to Batman, and then she recounts Steppenwolf's invasion, and it's a big kind of Hans Zimmer kind of damn, almost like Lex Luthor's kind of score. Damn, 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 that kind of pulsing score with Steppenwolf as recounting. Feels like Junkie XL, Hans Zimmer kind of just took those two things and put it together. You know what I'm saying? And it's just amazing what this one composer does with all these different styles and incorporates it into the music. It sounds really good. And then we go from the recounting to we realize Cyborg is following them. And then Batman goes to look for the Flash, and we get some music. We get some special effects music, basically, which has nothing to do with Junkie per se. Nothing to do with Danny Elfman. It more has to do with Junkie, the special effects and the kind of racing of the strings and all of that stuff. And we get a little bit of humor from the Flash. And then we go on to Cyborg and Wonder Woman talking to Cyborg. And then she meets him, and then we get that theatrics from from Danny Elfman again. Ding, 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 that kind of. And it's wonderful to see that kind of feel again. But it's different in that there's a different kind of feel in it because of Cyborg. He did something different there. Anyway, the point is, at the end of the day, he borrows from all these different people. As you progress through the movie, you can go ahead and check it out because I like music and I follow music. The feel of the movie takes different turns. Now, it gets a very pure turn when Superman comes back to fight Steppenwolf. But before that, it does have a lot of Richard Donner feel to it. I forgot what the guy who scored the music is, really. Something Williams. You guys know who it is. David Williams? I can't remember. But you get that dun, 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 right? Instead of dun, 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 right? And he goes straight with it, and he's harkening back, and he slowly, when you reach the end of the movie, he's really going into Williams' score. The nice, cool, placid string work, and that's how the end of the movie ends off. But why people say that the movie felt more as we were moving along, as if it was lighter and jokier, it wasn't. It was the music was cueing in a lighter feel as the movie progressed, and it got to the lightest feeling at the very end of the movie where Lois Lane is talking. It's kind of inspirational, kind of really throwback to the 70s, kind of orchestral themes that John Williams is the name, John Williams scored for Superman. It's not the same score, but it has the same sort of sentimental feel. So that's what you get back to the pure John Williams feel at the end. It's not trumpet laden, and there's a lot more trumpet work, a lot more superhero trumpet work as we reach to the end of the movie. So that's why a lot of people thought, this thing is kind of campy, and it's not campy at all. This movie's not campy. I can tell you that for a fact. It's not a campy movie at all. You know, it's not Richard Donner. This movie's not Richard Donner. Now, Danny Elfman gives tribute to Richard Donner, and even the score sometimes feels like a Richard Donner score somewhat. But this is not a Richard Donner movie. Okay, Superman 1978 was a fantastic movie in the sense of Richard Donner did a sort of mix of um, what we call what would we call that? It's not realism per se. It's more of a theatrical performance with some realistic tones and feels, emotive feels to it. But it's not realistic in any way, shape, or form. It's not trying to be realistic. Okay. So I thought I would share that about the music. I kind of cut it short because of time. It's 11:36. I really wanted to say more, but I'll kind of back off on that, see what you guys have to say in the chat section really quickly. And then I have to go to sleep. I got to go to sleep before 12, guys. It's 11:37 already. I need to go to my bed. So let's see what you guys have to say here. Okay, there we go. I like everything about this movie, says Leroy Kong. That's awesome. That's awesome, my friend. Okay, let's go up to the top. Hello again. I've seen Justice League 16 times now. Oh my God. 2 more times today. Great live video. Danny Elfman is a great composer. Yes, he is. He's a fantastic composer, and he did quite a lot of different things in this movie. Even the I think he did I haven't verified it yet. He did a shout out to Pet Sematary. He actually put in something that I think comes from Pet Sematary, which I thought was pretty cool. Leroy Kong, I've seen the 3-hour extended cut of Superman, the movie. Yes, I actually have the 3-hour cut. Actually, the Richard Donner cut. I have that. Mask of Shy Giotto, Christian. Even Danny Elfman accepted he was in a rush to make the score of the movie. Well, if that's a rush, that was a hell of a good rush, you know, because I'm going to tell you this. I don't know where you heard that, first of all. You know, some of you guys, I don't know where you get your information from. But Danny Elfman really enjoyed the crap out of making the score for this movie. And he said so. He said he had the most fun in his life. And I understand why. And I'm highlighting different things. I just wish I could talk more about it, but it's way too late in the night to talk more about that right now. I can always talk about that later. Leroy Khan, the music was magnificent in Justice League. I agree. I agree. Different, a different feel to the trilogy. But in a way, what I like about it is it borrowed from everything. It borrowed from Hans Zimmer. Doom, doom. Doom, doom. And dum, dum, dum. Dum, dum, dum. Dum, dum, dum. He used all of that subtly in the music, you know. And he used Junkies. Yeah. Dum, 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 dum. But very, very quickly. He didn't do it. He didn't use it. And then he used the clashing. And then he used Junkie's serious tone with his music. He used all kinds of things up in there. You know, I hope Junkie gets some credit for it, because I saw that the musical scores he used was Come Together by Gary Clark. He had Sigrid. He had Hans Zimmer's theme. And he had 4 songs. And then he had Batman. And then he had the Superman theme, 1978. But he should have Junkie in there somewhere. I don't know. I'll have to look to see if Junkie has contributed to the musical score, because he did. And I don't want Danny just stealing things off of Junkie and not giving it the acknowledged credit. The music was magnificent in Justice League. Don't lie to yourself. Justice League, while it's not bad, Justice League is not bad by any means. The music is just decent. Nothing very remarkable. That's somebody, you see, you have to understand something, Mask of Sky Giotto. I deal with music. So you trying to convince me that it's not remarkable really is, you're not doing anything for me. I'm telling you, I'm breaking down what this guy used and why it was remarkable. So if you wanna be dismissive of it, that's up to you. But you see, I deal with music, so you can't convince me otherwise. Dave Ethan, I thought the music fits the movie well, even though it's not strong like BVS and Man of Steel. I would say it's not necessarily in the likeness and tone of BVS and Man of Steel. It's a different way of approaching it. And I would say that it's not as tension-centric or rich in terms of it's not in the foreground all the time. See, Hans Zimmer, his music is in the foreground. You're gonna feel it, you know. Dun, 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 dun. But Danny Elfman allows the actors to breathe. So he features the actors and he keeps the music in the background. And only when necessary, he swells up the music. I thought the musical director for Wonder Woman did an excellent job of that as well. He kept his music in the background. But of course, when it was No Man's Land scene, that music thrived. It was beautiful for No Man's Land scene, but you know how he built that crescendo. But Danny Elfman has his own particular way of doing it, and the music suits the occasion. Sometimes it feels generic because it is, but other times it's pretty special. There's things he's doing in there that you're not really understanding. You know, there was a scene where Superman ducked. He basically dodged Steppenwolf's punch, and there was this, you know, that comes from The Matrix Reloaded. Actually, he borrowed inspiration from that, and it was just a fleeting moment, but it was just beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Leroy, again, a remarkable movie. T. Louis, I didn't like the music background when Bruce Wayne is on the horse and getting ready to search for Aquaman. I can't remember what that was, to be honest with you. I didn't find it particularly distracting. In fact, let me go have a look at it right now. I'll tell you what I think about it. I don't think it was particularly distracting, though. I'm trying to remember what it sounded like. I wouldn't say that all the music was memorable, and that's not the point of having a soundtrack, really. Hans Zimmer's music is very memorable. I also like the opening. I like the opening sequence as well, which is very memorable to me. It reminded me of the opening sequence for Wonder Woman, so I thought it was good. Hold on a second here. Oh, this is it here. Hold on. Okay. 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 Yeah. I see what you're saying in terms of you didn't particularly like it. It wasn't particularly anything. It was moving. It was a moving sequence. It wasn't anything super duper special there, but because I don't ever recall it. I don't recall that part. I remember certain parts of the movie where the music was profoundly impactful. I didn't particularly think that part was profoundly impactful. I thought it was like a transition stage. So where maybe a Hans Zimmer or Junkie XL might have made it more memorable because he's basically making a journey. So you want to show that he's traveling a long distance to get to this point, this isolated point. I thought this was more like a passerby kind of moment. Yeah, so I see what you're saying. So that's T. Louis. Okay, shout out to T. Louis, Leroy Clark, Dave Ethan. Mask of Shai Gyoto. I like everything about this movie. Leroy Cohn just keeps on saying that. Mask of Gyoto, exactly. The Man of Steel score is just heart-pounding and powerful. BVS is regal, big, creepy, and beautiful. Yeah. But again, it's not really featuring the soundtracks. You see what I'm saying? I loved BVS and I loved Man of Steel. I mean, the theme of Man of Steel, I still thought that Somehow he could have sneaked in the Man of Steel theme in the movie, even if it was for a brief moment. That dun, 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 you know, just to close the chapter, because they opened the chapter with Man of Steel. He should close the chapter with Man of Steel. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good. I mean, he wanted to go way back into the past and you know, hail out Richard Donner. I don't have a problem with that. I can't. It's not exactly what I would want, but it is what it is, you know. And there's virtue to that. That's what I'm saying. Um, Mask of Sky Gyoto. The jail score, while okay at moments, I think it was brilliant in certain moments, man. Certain moments were just plain brilliant, you know. But it's just not exactly what you would have come to expect, seeing you saw the trailers or whatever. Again, I'm not one of those people who's locked in that a movie must be this way or else it's terrible. I'm not that kind of person. I'm an open-minded person, and I do music. That's what I do. Okay, so you know, it's just I'm open-minded to something being approached differently. It was a different director, it was a different musician, so I expected something different. I didn't expect the same thing that we were having all along. I wish we could, but you know. Mask of Kyoto. It's just that okay. Only part that work better are just doing some action scenes like the Flash or a little of Batman's action, but apart from that, nothing interesting. To you. So you didn't examine it. You see, what I'm trying to tell you is I examined this stuff. You know, I heard some people, first of all, in the beginning, they said, you know, in their first pass, oh, you know, Justice League, it was an okay movie. It wasn't nothing like BVS. It didn't even connect BVS to, just because they didn't examine it. They just went with their first impressions, right? When they watched it the second time, and then I showed all the things that were in the movie, and they went and watched it the second time, they got more value out of it. They appreciated things more, and they came to say something different. Trust me. Look, man, when I saw Man of Steel 6 times, it's because I instantaneously realized this is a movie I had to watch 6 times. Okay, and I wasn't watching it because I was trying to be patronizing. I was watching the thing 6 times, not only because I was hooked on the movie, because I was trying to get as much information as I could from that movie. Same thing with Batman v Superman. I don't just watch a movie 10 times because I feel or I like it and it makes me feel good. Hell no. I could wait. No, I watch a movie for value. For value. Okay? So I'm not one of those superficial people that just are dismissive of things that I see value in. And so you just got to understand that and respect it. T. Louis, good morning. Okay, good morning to you. T. Louis, John. Leroy Clark, good night. Again, great live video. Thank you, Leroy Clark. I want to just say that what's special about this movie versus other movies is that I think that the mixture of these two directors, which nobody still can tell which director really did every scene. You can't say, well, this is a Snyder scene, this is Whedon's scene. And in fact, Snyder was mostly doing the comedy, Whedon was mostly doing the serious moments, which is so funny because they switched it up so that if people try to say, oh, that's a Whedon moment or that's a Snyder moment, they'll be confused, which I like. And then the other thing is, as I'm just saying to you guys, that I realized Elfman borrowed from old and new. And that's what makes this movie so special. Old and new. He borrowed from John Williams. He borrowed from himself. He borrowed from Hans Zimmer. He borrowed from Junkie XL. He borrowed from Pet Sematary. He borrowed from Matrix Reloaded. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of those things that I like. Okay? CGI wasn't the greatest. I heard people saying that to them, there were certain scenes that were cut too quickly so that you couldn't understand the meaning behind them. And some of those scenes I would mention, maybe you guys have an answer for me. When Cyborg was getting his hands into the boxes, he said something like, this is not, and then they just kind of blanked out. And I was like, what is he really saying? What was Cyborg saying? Why was he saying this is not? And it felt like, is there something else I'm supposed to know here? So if you guys understand what happened there, please fill me in on that. Another scene that I thought was very interesting was where Wonder Woman knew Victor Stone by name. Victor Stone. She hadn't consulted with Batman about that. How'd she know Victor Stone was the other guy? I can understand if she said the other guy, you know, because she knew there was someone following her. But how did she know about Victor Stone? Now, we know she knows about Victor Stone from BVS, but in a self-contained movie like Justice League, you have to also show how she knows about Victor Stone. So I thought that was a plot hole right there. Unless somebody can show me otherwise. So there are a number of different places like that where I thought, well, what are they really saying? Another place where it was kind of, what was this person saying in the movie, was when I'm trying to remember if it's Barry or if it was Aquaman. It was a moment where, yes, this is it. Batman had just knocked off two parademons, and then we just see a parademon get knocked down from the sky. Then we see Wonder Woman show up inside of the silo. And I'm thinking to myself, the nuclear silo, I'm thinking, how did Wonder Woman get there? How did Aquaman get there? Didn't Batman pass Aquaman? So what did he do? He jump? So I'm just saying, you could see that there was missing pieces in between that. We know Aquaman threw a spear at some parademons. You knew he jumped up into the silo somehow, some way. So I was just curious about that. That, yeah, you know, it's just like with the, if you remember in BVS, Batman fight scene, the warehouse scene, was abridged in the theatrical cut. And then when you got the extended cut, you saw that he did some more fighting. He did some more things. And then we knew that he even did more than that, because in the trailers, we saw him throw a guy and stuff like that. I just believe this movie has so much footage, maybe 4 to 5 hours of footage, that was ground down to 3 hours, and then they ground it down to 2 hours. They had a lot of footage on a lot of things, and that's Zack Snyder. You get a lot of footage, and you got to piece the footage together. So, I mean, what I would really like to get as a fan would be all the footage of BVS, all the footage of Justice League. If I could just get everything, that would be awesome. You know, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if that was possible, you know, like they decide, you know, one lucky fan gets to see all the footage of Justice League. You know, you win some prize or something. You know, you get to see everything that Zack Snyder did. That would be crazy. That would be like a dream come true, don't you think? But yeah. You know, I'm always enthusiastic about these movies. I don't get sour about things I didn't see. I'm happy that we got a Justice League movie. And I don't know why people just don't share in that happiness. And then if we got to get more footage, whoopie-doo. You know, I'm happy for more footage. You know, I don't know. Different people have different attitudes to things. Some people are narcissistic and they just generally have a pessimistic outlook to things. Other people are optimistic and they're happy. So, guys, go out there, check out this movie. It's 11:53. I gotta go to sleep before 12 at least. You guys have a great night. If you guys want to just leave in the comment section what else you would like me to discuss. I prefer to talk about the movie. As you notice, most of my videos are about the movie itself. I don't like to really deal with rumors and hearsay and that kind of nonsense unless I got facts, right, guys? But if you want to, and you want to discuss some topic or something that has to do with rumors, hearsay, reshuffling, and Warner Brothers, whatever, it's all good. Put it down in the comment section below, all right? You guys have a great night. Stay hopeful. Let's keep this thing rolling. The ball is rolling now. Let's see how far it goes. You guys have a great one.